Every year, millions of Muslims from every corner of the earth pack a single bag, say goodbye to everyone they love, and travel to one valley in Saudi Arabia. Different languages, skin colors and backgrounds, but when they arrive, they all put on the same two white cloths. They all say the same words, and they all walk in the footsteps of the same man. This is Hajj, and while most Muslims know it is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, very few actually understand what happens during it. What does each ritual mean, and why was it commanded, and what it does to a person? Today, we are going to change that. Here is Hajj, explained completely, stage by stage. Before we walk through the stages, you need to understand where Hajj came from. Because without this story, the rituals are just actions. With this story, they become something else entirely. It did not begin with the Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It did not begin 1,400 years ago. It began with a father, a mother, an infant, and a desert. Allah commanded Ibrahim, alayhi salam, to take his wife Hajar, alayhi salam, and their baby son Ismail, alayhi salam, into a valley with no water, no trees, and no people, and leave them there. He walked away. Hajar, alayhi salam, followed him, asking where he was going. He did not answer. She asked again. Silence. And then she asked the one question that defines what trust in Allah truly looks like. Has Allah commanded you to do this? He said, yes. And she stopped. She turned around, walked back to her infant son, and said 5 words that every Muslim should carry for the rest of their life. Then he will not neglect us. The water ran out. The baby cried. Hajar, alayhi salam, ran between 2 hills 7 times, desperate, refusing to give up. And on her 7th run, water burst from the ground when Jibril, alayhi salam, cracked upon the ground with his wings. That water is the Zamzam well. It has not stopped flowing in 4,000 years. Years later, Ibrahim, alayhi salam, returned, and together with Ismail, alayhi salam, stone by stone, they built the Kaaba. When it was complete, Allah told Ibrahim, alayhi salam, to stand on a hill and call all of humanity to come for pilgrimage. Ibrahim, alayhi salam, asked, how can my voice reach people not yet born? Allah said, you call, we will carry the sound. And every Muslim who has ever felt an unexplainable pull toward Makkah is answering that call. Now let's walk through the journey itself. The journey begins before you even land in Saudi Arabia. Every pilgrim must cross a boundary called the Miqat, a geographical line around Makkah. And at that point, everything stops. You change your clothes. You enter a sacred state called Ihram. For men, the Ihram means 2 plain, white, unstitched cloths. No underwear, covered shoes, or perfume for women. Plain, modest clothing covering everything except the face and hands. Now, why white cloths? Because they are almost identical to the kafan, the burial shroud a Muslim is wrapped in before being lowered into their grave. From the moment Ihram is worn, the pilgrim is dressed like a dead person, because Hajj is a rehearsal for death and the Day of Judgment. Allah wants you to feel that from the very first moment. The rich and the poor now look identical. The CEO and the taxi driver, the Arab and the American, 2 pieces of white cloth, no brand names or status. There is no difference between any servants of Allah. And the moment Ihram is on, the Talbiyah begins. Labaik, Allahumma labaik. Here I am, O Allah. Here I am. You have no partner. Here I am. Verily all praise, grace and sovereignty belong to you. This is said constantly, by men out loud, by women softly, from this moment until the first pebble is thrown on Eid day. When 2 million people say it together in the streets of Makkah, It does not sound like a recitation. It sounds like the earth itself answering a call. You have been in Ihram for hours. You have been reciting the talbiyah since the plane took off. And then the car stops. Someone says, "We are here." You walk through a gate. The corridors are crowded. And then you turn a corner and you see it. The Kaaba. Nothing prepares you for this moment. People who have seen it dozens of times still stop completely. Some cry before they realize they are crying. Some cannot speak for several minutes. And then you move toward it because there is something you must do. Tawaf, circling the Kaaba 7 times, counterclockwise, beginning and ending at the black stone in the southeastern corner. You raise your right hand toward the black stone and say, "Bismillah, Allahu Akbar," and you begin walking. Now the black stone is not worshipped. It has no power of its own. The second caliph of Islam, Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu anhu, made this clearer than anyone. He stood before the black stone, kissed it and said, "Verily, I know you are only a stone with no power to harm or benefit me. Were it not that I saw the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, kiss you, I would not have kissed you." It is kissed because the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, kissed it. That is the line between following the Sunnah and worshipping an object. This is such an exemplary property of only Islam. Even though every Muslim is aware that the black stone is a gift from heaven, we do not revere or worship it. We kiss it solely because it is a sunnah of our beloved Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After 7 circuits, 2 rakats are prayed behind the Maqam Ibrahim, the stone that still bears the footprints of the man who built the Kaaba. Then the pilgrim drinks Zamzam, the same water Hajar, alayhi salam, found in the desert, now flowing into a cup in your hands inside the grandest mosque on earth. Next comes Sa'i, walking 7 lengths between the hills of Safa and Marwa. Most people know it as a ritual. Very few understand what it is actually commemorating. It is the actions and tawakkul of Hajar, alayhi salam, her running alone, her desperation, and her refusal to give up. A mother with a dying infant, no tribe, no rescue, and no help coming. 7 times between 2 hills, and on the 7th run, she was answered. Here is what should stop you in your tracks. Every Muslim who has ever performed Hajj, every king, every scholar, every billionaire, every world leader was required to literally run in the footsteps of that woman. No one is exempted from Sa'i. No one does it on someone else's behalf while they sit comfortably. Allah immortalized Hajar's alayhi salam action. Such is how Allah honors his loyal servants. The pilgrim begins at Safa, faces the Kaaba, makes dua, and walks toward Marwa. Men jog the marked section, and women walk the entire way. 1 length is 1 circuit. The 7th ends at Marwa. Any dua, in any language, for anything. On the 8th of Dhul Hijjah, something shifts. The pilgrims leave Makkah and move east toward a valley called Mina, 8 kilometers away. And what they find there is the largest temporary city on earth. 100,000 white tents, air-conditioned, fireproof, packed with pilgrims from every country in the world. Your tent neighbor might be from Mali, Kazakhstan, or Brazil. No one cares. You are all dressed the same. You are all heading to the same place. This night is not a night of major rituals. It is a night of preparation, of Quran recitation, of dhikr, and of nawafil prayers. Mentally and spiritually setting yourself up for what comes tomorrow morning. Then comes the day of Arafah. This is it, the heart of Hajj, the reason everything else exists. Arafat was described by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as one sentence that leaves no room for misunderstanding. Hajj is Arafat. Not the Tawaf, not the Kaaba, not the stoning, Arafat. After Fajr in Mina, the pilgrims begin moving toward the plain of Arafat. 14 kilometers from Makkah. And what they find there is something no description prepares you for. A flat, open plain, stretching in every direction. 2 million human beings, all in white, all standing, all facing the same direction. After midday, the Imam delivers a khutbah from Jabal al-Rahmah, the Mount of Mercy, the exact hill where the Prophet ﷺ delivered his farewell sermon with 120,000 companions surrounding him. Then Dur and Asr are prayed combined and shortened, and then the wukuf begins. From after midday until sunset, the pilgrim stands. No ritual action required, just dua, weeping, begging, remembering, and asking forgiveness for every sin they can remember and every sin they have forgotten. Praying for people they love, for the ummah, for the dead, for the living. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The best supplication is that which is made on the day of Arafat. The best of it is what was said by myself and the prophets before me. There is no God but Allah alone, without any partners. Unto him belongs the dominion and all praise, and he has power over all things." 2 million people, one afternoon. And Allah frees more souls from hellfire than on any other single day of the year. The sun begins to lower, shadows grow long, and people are weeping openly. Not because they were told to, but because standing there, stripped of everything, with nowhere to go and nothing to do except face Allah, something breaks open inside every human being. Just before sunset, the wukuf ends, and 2 million people begin moving at the same time. The destination is Muzdalifah, an open plain between Arafat and Mina. No tents, hotels or walls, just open sky, open ground, and 2 million pilgrims. Here, Maghrib and Isha are prayed combined. You eat whatever food you have, and then you lie down on the ground in your Ihram, under the stars. No mattress, no roof, no air conditioning. The earth of Arabia beneath your back and the sky above your face. This is also where pilgrims collect their pebbles, small chickpea-sized stones, for the stoning that comes tomorrow. Allah calls this place Al-Mash'ar al-Haram, the sacred monument, and commands in the Quran, "When you depart from Arafat, remember Allah at Al-Mash'ar al-Haram." At Fajr, the pilgrim prays, standing facing the Qibla, making dua until just before sunrise, and then moves again toward Mina. The 10th of Dhul Hijjah marks Eid al-Adha, the busiest single day in all of Hajj. 4 things must happen on this day, and the Prophet ﷺ said that you may do them in any order, no harm. First, the stoning of Jamrat al-Aqaba, the largest wall, 7 pebbles, Allahu Akbar with every single throw, and at the first pebble the talbiyah stops. The constant answer to Ibrahim alayhi salam's call, recited since Ihram was worn, goes completely silent at this moment. Second, the sacrifice, a sheep or a share in a cow or camel. Most pilgrims today pay through certified channels, and the meat reaches the poor across the world. This sacrifice is not symbolic. It is a direct connection to Ibrahim alayhi salam, who raised his hand for sacrifice over his own son in complete submission to Allah. And at the moment that submission was complete in his heart, Allah called out, "You have fulfilled the vision," and provided a ram in his son's place. Every animal offered on Eid al-Adha in every Muslim home on earth is the entire ummah saying the same thing that Ibrahim alayhi salam said, "We submit." Third, shaving the head. Men shave completely, women trim a small amount. The Prophet ﷺ made dua 3 times for those who shave before making it once for those who only trim. Fourth, Tawaf al-Ifada. The pilgrim travels back to Makkah and circles the Kaaba 7 times. This is the obligatory Tawaf of Hajj itself. Without it, Hajj is not valid. After this, everything becomes permissible again. Perfume, normal clothes, all of it. Most people think the stoning is about throwing rocks at the devil. It is not. There is no shaitan standing at the pillar waiting to be hit. The pebbles are not weapons. What you are doing at the Jamarat is reenacting the moment Ibrahim alayhi salam walked toward the place of sacrifice, and shaitan appeared to him 3 times, whispering doubt, fear, and hesitation. And Ibrahim alayhi salam rejected him 3 times by throwing stones, and kept walking toward what Allah commanded. So with every pebble you throw, you are declaring, I reject you. I reject every whisper that told me my sins were too many for forgiveness. I reject every voice that told me to choose comfort over obedience. On the 11th, 12th, and 13th of Dhul Hijjah, the days of Tashriq, the pilgrim returns to Mina and stones all 3 walls in order after Dhuhr. 7 pebbles each. Allahu Akbar with every throw. After the first 2 walls, face the Qibla and make a long dua. After the 3rd, move away. No dua. The nights of the 11th and 12th must be spent in Mina. A pilgrim may leave after the 12th before sunset. Those who stay through the 13th stone 1 final time and then depart. Now you have entered the final phase of your Hajj. You have done everything. You wore the Ihram. You circled the Kaaba. You ran between Safa and Marwa. You stood on Arafat. You slept under the stars of Muzdalifah. You sacrificed. You shaved. You stoned. And now it is time to go home. But before leaving Makkah, the Prophet ﷺ commanded that the last act of every pilgrim must be 1 final Tawaf. Tawaf ul-Adha, the farewell Tawaf. 7 circuits, no sa'i after it, and then you leave, with the Kaaba as the last thing you see before walking out of the gate. Pilgrims describe this Tawaf as unlike any other. The first Tawaf, you were overwhelmed, trying to absorb everything. The Tawaf of Ifadah left you feeling exhausted and grateful. But this one, you know it is the last one. People slow down. People stop and turn back to look. People press their hands against the cloth of the Kaaba and make 1 final dua, asking Allah for whatever is still in their heart. And then they walk out. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Whoever performs Hajj and does not commit obscenity or commit any evil therein will go back, free of sin, as on the day his mother gave birth to him." You leave Makkah the same way you arrived, but you are not the same person. The person who arrived carried the weight of every sin they had ever committed. The person walking out has been given a completely clean start. The Prophet ﷺ, the reward of Hajj Mabrur, that is, 1 accepted, is nothing but Jannah, paradise. 9 stages, 1 journey, 1 destination. Ihram, Tawaf, Sa'i, Mina, Arafat, Muzdalifah, sacrifice, stoning and farewell. Each ritual points back to the same 2 people, Ibrahim alayhi salam and Hajar alayhi salam, who showed us what it looks like to trust Allah completely. May Allah grant every one of us the opportunity to make this journey. May He accept it from those who have already gone. And may He return every pilgrim this year the way the Prophet ﷺ described, as pure as the day they were born. Aamin. If this video helped you understand Hajj more deeply, share it with someone preparing for the journey. They might need it more than you know.